Okay, let's be real. Managing diabetes when you're a teenager is a lot. You've got school, sports, a social life, and then there's this whole other full-time job of managing a chronic health condition. So, when some new tech comes out that promises to make your life even a little bit easier, it's a huge deal. Today, we're going to break down one of the biggest names out there, the Omnipod 5, and figure out if its promise of freedom is actually worth the trade-offs.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all, right? For a teenager with type 1 diabetes, what does freedom really look like? I mean, is it just thinking about the disease less, or maybe carrying less junk around with you? Or is it about getting just a little more independence from your parents? The answer to that question is honestly the key to understanding this entire device.
And for so many people, the answer starts right here. Freedom looks like this. No more tubes, no more catching them on doorknobs, no more getting tangled up in your clothes, and definitely no more worrying about them during sports. The single most defining thing about the Omnipod 5 is that it's this small, self-contained pod that just sticks right to your body. That's it. No tubes.
And that tubeless design, well, that's what makes it totally unique. If you look at the major automated insulin systems here in the US, the Omnipod 5 is literally in a class of its own. It's the only game in town if you want to go tubeless. And that one single design choice, well, it's the biggest selling point, but it's also the source of every single compromise we're about to get into.
So, let's start with the good stuff, the big win. You have to understand that this system, from the ground up, is built to give a teenager more independence and just reduce all that daily hassle that comes with managing diabetes.
Just think about how this all plays out in your actual life. You run the whole thing from your phone, which, let's face it, you're carrying anyway. The pod itself, it's waterproof, so you can swim, you can shower, you don't have to disconnect anything. And since it's just this little patch under your clothes, it's super discreet. It's all about making those little daily annoyances just disappear.
Right, so your phone is basically the command center. This is where you tell the system, hey, I'm about to eat, and give yourself insulin, that's a bolus, to cover your food. It's also where you tweak your settings. But, and this is important, the phone isn't actually the most critical part of this whole setup.
This is the magic right here, the brains of the entire system. That smart algorithm that's tweaking your insulin every 5 minutes, it's inside the pod that's on your body. That pod talks directly to your glucose monitor. So what does that mean? It means if your phone dies, or if you leave it in your locker during gym class, the automated system just keeps on working, keeping you in range. That is a huge plus for reliability. And when that algorithm is working, man, the results can be incredible. You see reports all the time calling it life-changing, especially for overnight control. That quiet, automatic management while you're asleep, that's where these systems are just amazing. But, and there's always a but, this design that's so focused on your independence, it creates a massive challenge for parents and caregivers. And that brings us to the single biggest headache for families considering this system, what we're calling the parent's data black box. This is the price you pay for all that freedom we were just talking about. Now, it is really important to get this. This isn't a bug, it's a feature. It is a core part of the design philosophy. The Omnipod 5 is built on purpose to empower the person wearing it, and that means, by definition, it has to limit the remote control and constant oversight from a caregiver.
So here's what that actually looks like. On the left, using a CGM follow app, a parent can see their kid's blood sugar number and which way it's heading. That's it. Now look at the right. This is what they can't see. How much insulin is still active in your system. Did you remember to bolus for lunch? Is your pod about to run out of insulin or expire? All of that really critical pump information is totally invisible to them in real time. It's a complete black box.
And just to be super clear, there are no official workarounds here. Nope, that old View app that worked with the Dash system, it doesn't work with Omnipod 5. And yeah, you can sync data to platforms like Gluco, but that's for looking back at data with your doctor hours later, not for making safety decisions right now. The system is built this way on purpose.
Okay, so beyond that huge philosophical choice about parent oversight, there are a few other kind of hidden hurdles and trade-offs that you'll run into in the day-to-day.
First up, the classic pizza problem. You know how high-fat foods like pizza digest really slowly? You need a long, slow drip of insulin to cover it. Most pumps have a feature for this called an extended bolus. Well, with the Omnipod 5, you cannot use that feature while you're in its main automated mode. So what you have to do is this annoying multi-step workaround. First, you have to completely switch the system out of its smart automated mode. Then, you can use the old-school extended bolus feature. And then, and this is the absolute most critical part, you have to remember to turn automated mode back on when you're done. It adds this whole new mental checklist for something as simple as eating a slice of pizza.
Next up, alarms. Now, for a teen who's just trying to fly under the radar, this is a big one. You can silence the advisory alarms on your phone, the little reminders like your insulin is getting low. But you cannot silence the big ones, the hazard alarms. These mean insulin is stopped and they come directly from the pod on your body. They are loud, you can't shut them up from your phone, and they just love to go off in the middle of a dead silent classroom.
And finally, let's talk about the hardware itself. The cannula, that's the tiny little tube that actually goes under your skin to deliver the insulin. With Omnipod 5, you get exactly one option. Period. One length, one angle, one material. If, for whatever reason, that specific cannula just doesn't work well with your body, maybe it's uncomfortable or it kinks a lot, you can't try a different kind. Your only choice is to try a different spot on your body. It's a pretty major one-size-fits-all limitation.
So, with all of that on the table, how in the world does a family actually make this call? Let's try to pull it all together with a final scorecard to help you think it through.
So think of this as a way to frame the conversation. For a hands-off smoothing, just letting the algorithm do its thing, it gets a 5 out of 5. It's fantastic. Sport-proof, a solid 4 out of 5, thanks to that tubeless, waterproof design. But it gets knocked down to a 3 on school-proof because of those noisy alarms. And for parent peace, yeah, it gets a 1 out of 5. That data black box is just a killer for peace of mind.
And really, the whole decision boils down to whether you can accept two major risks. First, there's the clinical risk. Is this one-size-fits-all piece of hardware actually going to work for your specific body? And then there's the oversight risk. Can your family live with that data black box and the forced independence that comes with it?
Now, the good news is you do have some safety nets. To deal with that clinical risk, Insulet has a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if the cannula is a total disaster for you, you can return the system. For the oversight risk, some families look into unofficial third-party apps that try to fill that data gap. But more importantly, it forces families to create new plans for communication, built on trust and having the teen check in manually.
And that really brings us right back to where we started. There's no one right answer here. There's no best pump. There are only personal trade-offs. So the final question we want to leave you with is this one. For your family and for where you are right now, what's the right balance between independence and oversight?